Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss one new topic, that is overseas business investment, that is overseas direct investment by Indian residents. So why we should discuss this? Because in current scenario many businessmen from India invest in foreign countries like USA, Canada, UAE, Singapore, etc. for business purpose, or sometimes they make investment for EB5 or like investor visas. However, there are some legal compliance and rules and regulations which need to be followed while making foreign business investment. Sometimes people invest in foreign countries but don't follow the legal process as per FEMA, and thereafter the problem arises. That is why we are going to discuss here the legal process as per FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, and rules and regulations as prescribed by Reserve Bank of India, so that consequently issues do not arise when the investment has grown up to some level. That's why it is very important to know the related legal compliances while making foreign investment. We shall discuss the same in two parts. One, ODI by resident individuals, and the second one, ODI by other than resident individuals, that is by Indian companies, LLPs, registered partnerships, which are known as Indian party as per FEMA. Today we shall discuss about ODI by resident individuals. For other than resident individuals, we will discuss later, maybe in the next video. First of all, let's understand what is ODI. ODI is an investment, that is overseas direct investment, is an investment by way of contribution to capital or subscription to MOA or foreign entity or by way of purchase of existing shares of a foreign company by way of market purchase or private placement or through stock exchange, excluding portfolio investment. So portfolio investment is not included in ODI. So now let's understand what is portfolio investment. Portfolio investment is not defined by RBI, but following can be the guiding principles. That is, one, there is no subscription to MOA of the overseas entity. So they shall not have undertaken any other financial commitment like investment in preference shares, loan, guarantee, etc. There is no such things. Shares are being acquired in existing entity and not in the entity to be incorporated. Then it should not be a wholly owned company, or majority stake should not be with Indian party. Indian entity or resident individual should be a passive investor. Generally, portfolio investment should be in a listed entity. For example, if an Indian resident purchases shares of, say, Microsoft or an Apple Inc., then it is a case of portfolio investment. So in case of portfolio investment, you don't need to comply with ODI guidelines and you can go for it without ODI reporting. Apart from PI, that is portfolio investment, ODI means overseas direct investment, means when Indian resident makes investment in foreign entity by way of contribution to capital, subscribing to memorandum of association, or by purchase of shares of an existing entity. We can say it is a strategic investment and the Indian resident has controlling or significant interest in the overseas entity. Then it's a overseas direct investment. In ODI, overseas entities can be either WOS, that is wholly owned subsidiary, or it can be a joint venture. WOS means entire shareholding of overseas entity is held by one or more Indian party or resident individuals. And JV means Indian residents are having stake along with other foreign investment. So that is joint venture. Now coming back to ODI by resident individuals. Resident individual can make ODI under two routes mainly. One is automatic route, that is no prior RBI permission is required and it can be done automatically. And the other is approval route, where prior permission of RBI is mandatory for making the investments. Now let's discuss the same in detail. Resident individual can make ODI under automatic route subject to following conditions. There are certain conditions specifically applicable to individuals which we will go through one by one. One is resident individual can invest in overseas entity which is engaged in any bona fide business activity. Second, resident individual can't invest in overseas entity engaged in real estate, banking business or financial services activity. So these are the sectors which are prohibited for ODI by resident individuals. Here real estate business means trading of real estate properties, and it does not include development of townships or construction of residential houses. So that can be done by resident individuals also by forming overseas entity. Third, RI, that is resident individual, cannot make investment in countries which are notified as non-cooperative countries by FATF, that is Financial Action Task Force. Fourth condition is RI should not be on RBI's exporters caution list or list of defaulters or under investigation of our enforcement agency or regulatory body in India. Then resident individual can invest in overseas entity within the applicable LRS limit prescribed only. That is, LRS limit means liberalized remittance scheme limit. Presently the limit for under LRS is USD 2,50,000. So each individual can invest up to USD 2,50,000 only. That is the LRS limit, which is overall limit. So if he has used the limit for utilizing it in traveling expenses or any foreign expenses, then it is reduced by that amount, and overall 2,50,000 limit must be observed. Then overseas entity where RI, that is resident individual, has invested cannot set up step down subsidiary. So resident individual is investing in overseas entity, then that overseas entity cannot invest in further entity that is in step down subsidiary. Then another condition is resident individual can make investment in operating entity only. Operating entity means the entity which is engaged in operating business and not an SPV, that is special purpose vehicle, for further investment. Then resident individual can invest in equity only, that is they cannot extend loan to these overseas entities. Then another condition is in case of investment in shares of existing entity, valuation is required by merchant banker or CA as applicable. If investment amount is exceeding USD 5 million, then category 1 merchant banker or investment banker registered with the authority of host country can make the valuation. In all other cases, that is below 5 USD million investment, valuation can be done by CA or CPA. It should also be noted that proprietary firm is not allowed to invest in foreign entity under automatic route, and they have to go for approval route. That is, they can do only after taking prior permission of RBI. So these are the basic conditions and requirement as per FEMA and RBI rules and regulations, which should be complied with while making foreign investment. Now let's discuss about reporting requirements. So first of all, resident individual need to submit Form ODI Part 1 to AD Bank, that is Authorized Dealer Bank, within 30 days of making the remittance. Generally, banks ask for all these documents at the time of making remittance itself. Let's see which details are required to be filled in Form ODI Part 1. Section A of ODI Part 1 needs details of Indian party or resident individual. Section B includes basic details of overseas JV. Then Section C details of financial commitment. In Section D, there are certain declaration as required by FEMA and RBI rules regulation. And Section E is CA certificate, that is statutory audited certificate, but it is required for Indian party only, not for resident individual. Resident individual can submit self-attested Section E. All these documents are required to be submitted to AD Bank, and AD Bank will report the same to RBI on RBI portal. RBI will issue UIN at the time of first remittance to overseas entity, and this UIN number is unique for overseas entity, and same should be quoted in all future remittances or correspondence. Within 6 months of initial remittance, resident individual need to submit copy of share certificate, that is investment proof, to AD Bank. Then all ODI investments by all the investors has to be routed through one AD branch only. So you cannot do one remittance from one bank and other from other bank or branch. All subsequent changes in ODI investment in capital structure or NAV or any change should be reported to RBI within 30 days of change. Every year, resident individual should file annual performance report, that is APR, which is Form ODI Part 2 to RBI for overseas entity before 31st December of following year regularly until the year of disinvestment. At the time of disinvestment, resident individual has to repatriate the funds to India within 60 days and file the Form ODI Part 3, that is form of disinvestment, within 30 days. So these are the basic reporting requirements of ODI under automatic route. Under approval route, you need to submit all these documents forms to RBI via AD Bank, and RBI shall give approval, and thereafter you can remit the funds of investment. Now let us discuss some options of investment in foreign securities other than by way of overseas direct investment. That is, there are some options under which you can invest in foreign securities other than direct investment. One is if the resident individual receives shares of overseas entity as a gift from person resident outside of India. Second is by way of inheritance from person resident outside of India. Third is if Indian resident employee receives shares in overseas company as an ESOP, that is employee stock option plan, where no remittance is required. Then RI purchases shares as a qualification shares to become director, or purchases share as a right as an existing shareholder. These are the cases where ODI guidelines are not applicable and you can make the investment without complying with ODI guidelines. So that's all I wanted to discuss with you regarding ODI, that is overseas direct investment by resident individuals. Hope you have understood the same and the same may be useful to you. Finally, let me clarify that I have just tried to share my knowledge on the subject with you, and I don't claim to be an expert of this field. And still, if you have any query or questions, you can always contact me. Thank you so much. Thank you.